Hey guys, hope you guys are doing well today. Thank you so much for tuning in into the Inspo podcast by Insporeum Network. For those of you who don't know, my name is Rizq and I am the founder of Insporeum Network. So Insporeum Network is an entertainment media network for professionals. And Inspo podcast is one of the pillar content that we have here on this channel. On this podcast, we have upcoming talents, upcoming creators, entrepreneurs, personalities, and athletes to share their perspectives, to share their thoughts, to share their insights about their respective industries and how we can understand it better and how it will be helpful for us in our future. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the podcast and I'll see you on the other side. So where were we?
I don't know, we were talking about the media coverage of the marketing advertising industry. Yeah. So yeah.
Do you think Malaysia, we don't really focus on the people that make all of this thing happen, or they just focus on the actual content?
Make these things happen. I feel there is a lot of appreciation, a lot of respect in this market for the creators. I also need to say that because I feel this way because I'm in within the circle, but of course, I feel, just the general rule of press and media coverage, you need a substantial market size for it to be able to make sense to have, coverage, media to cover and everything. But I just feel there isn't a lot of people doing it. However, with the recent, what happened to Blue Ink, what happened to a lot of Mongoose, which was 2 years ago, I think. What happened to most of the major publishers recently, like Juice. I grew up reading Juice magazine and now it's not what it is anymore. I do feel there's a huge vacuum of in terms of a need, in terms of people writing about the creative scene. But I just don't see anyone doing it well yet. Hopefully this is where it is. Yeah, hopefully this is where it is. But I just feel there's an amazing opportunity there. I feel like the kids coming out these days, the things they can do with social media, the things they can do with their own phones in their bedrooms. You can be in Pelangi Jaya or Sungai Petani, it doesn't matter anymore. It's very interesting to see what the new guys are doing right now, especially on short form content, what they do on social media and everything. So, Instagram magazines and everything, which is an amazing new media form of new media that I feel is going to catch on real soon. But yeah, there's a lot of things happening. I think Mulazin is one of the pages I follow very quite closely. Sorry, I don't know the guys, but they cover a lot of, I wouldn't say retro, but very 90s pop culture stuff, which is amazing. You never read about stuff like that anymore, which is super interesting.
What we spoke about over lunch with my team, we spoke about the creative scene. You have things like the cult creative, the new one, that has been covering a lot of creatives in the city.
But name me 5 more, man. But name me 5 more cult creatives, that's
not really.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Cult creative is amazing. It's amazing as well. I feel like the way they curate, the people they talk to, the way they cover. Although, some short form, some longer form. But I feel like that's what we need a lot. We need a lot more than that. I think they cover the more current. Both ways. I think what Mulazin is more of a retrospective kind of thing. But cult creative is now. So I really, really admire what they do, and they manage to get a lot of amazing guests on their show. So yeah, that's something we need a lot more. That cult creative is amazing, but we need a lot more than that.
For those of you who are already here, welcome to our Inspo podcast. This is episode 4, and joining me today is the CEO of C27, Mr. Fazil Fuad. Say hello.
Hi guys. Sorry, I've never done this before.
No worries. There's always a first time to everything. So Fazil, let's introduce yourself to our listeners out there for who you are and who were you before.
Okay,
the
cool.
C27.
Okay, cool. So, first of all, I think I'm just a normal PJ boy. Grew up in Damansara Jaya, did all those things in public schools and everything. I studied, before C27, I studied design and I got the amazing opportunity to study design in Australia. But when I graduated, what's interesting about the time I graduated was it wasn't long after Steve Jobs presented the first keynote. He had the first keynote presentation of the iPhone. And I remember me sitting there with my 2 future business partners thinking that, this is pretty sick. This is probably going to change the world. It wasn't so much of the iPhone, it was more of the App Store.
Right.
Honestly, I felt the App Store was super underrated in terms of how it completely revolutionized the way people use apps, the way people perceive apps, It was amazing. So yeah, it gave birth to an entire new industry, which was the mobile computing industry.
Correct.
So yeah, so you can say that we started off as mobile developers. Mobile app developers, one of the first in the market. I remember one of our first presentations, we were presenting to this huge consumer electronics company. We were presenting a concept for a mobile app when we realized the entire room was still using Nokias. Yeah, so that's when we realized that, hey, maybe we're just a little bit too ahead of the market. I don't think the Malaysian market was ready yet. So we realized we had the talent and the portfolio to easily pivot into a digital agency, and that's what we did and never looked back. Yeah. So, but personally, I also got the opportunity after running C27 for about a year. I got the opportunity to. I was actually headhunted by Rocket Internet, Southeast Asia at the time, which basically I got hired into the founding team of Zalora and Lazada. So that was, you can say, where I learned most of my trade. I started out as just a photographer, but I left as the regional, one of the regional heads in the region. I remember joining in as employee number 7, leaving when the company was in 7 countries with 2,000 people and fresh. And I remember leaving just freshly after we closed like $100 million USD funding from JP Morgan. So yeah, so look, like I felt like fundamentally I was, I studied and I was trained as a creative. I always thought I was going to be a creative, but I think there I literally saw how you would build $1 billion tech company. And look, I was just super inspired, and I think I met and learned so much. I realized that the things we were doing with digital marketing over there was ahead of the curve when it comes to what Malaysian marketers can do at the time by 2 to 3 years. And I feel that when I left, that there was a huge gap that we can capitalize on. So that's what we've been doing ever since C27.
Yep. Awesome. Now that you're running C27, right? I remember you said to me once when we were on our meetings and whatnot, that when Zalora and Lazada, I'm not sure, Rocket Internet Southeast Asia essentially, when you guys reached 100 million in sales and whatnot, the average age of the company is like 26, 27?
Oh yeah, that's right. I don't know, I think what's most underrated about Rocket Internet, you can read about Rocket Internet actually, it's a very interesting company. I think one of the most famous articles was that the Wired magazine called them the clone factory. So what they did was, they replicated American business models that worked there and basically replicated that in emerging markets, such as Southeast Asia at the time. So yeah, so they were very good in what they do, but what's super underrated was their HR strategy. So they basically hired 3 to 4 year McKinsey consultants or McKinsey consultants doing their MBAs to basically lead the ventures that they open in the markets. And for some reason that they all fall under the 28 to 27 to 30 range. So our CEO at the time was 29 years old. I remember I was personally leading 130 people from 5 countries speaking very different languages when I was 24. Generally a very young team, very hungry team. I think that is why, super energetic. I remember not going home earlier than 9 p.m. for a few years. Because we knew we just weren't working in a company. We were trying to build an entire market, an e-commerce market. Contrary to popular belief, what Zalora and Lazada did was that with the work that they did, with the market they created, they actually accelerated the adoption of e-commerce. They actually, I feel like because of the demand they created, it actually pushed the government to accelerate development of infrastructure to support e-commerce, such as logistics. So look, a lot of people are very distracted with the role of technology in e-commerce, but I feel that what's super I think when it comes to the supply chain, the highest barrier to entry and therefore the most profitable part of the supply chain is still logistics. And when we started, I remember Post Laju didn't cater to consumers. They were strictly B2B or low-level, low-volume e-commerce stores. But now, if you start an e-commerce store, you have 10 alternatives to choose from. And this wasn't true just 6-7 years ago. And I feel that because of the amount of demand they've created and the lifestyle they created, buying things online, everyone is enjoying that right now. Yeah, but it was a very young team, because I think for what we do, especially in e-commerce, no one has 15 years experience.
Correct.
I think
everything is new.
That's the crazy anomaly about our time. About what I think what C2S7 does is that there's no 15-20 year experience people. This is a new industry, and we're all trying to navigate it together. I think what worked for us is that we were natively digital when most of our competitors were trying to evolve to digital.
Correct.
So we were fundamentally natively digital, and I feel that kept us ahead of the curve for quite some time. Yeah.
You guys have no preconceived ideas of how to run a business. I think.
Yes,
everything started from
exactly.
scratch.
I started right out of uni, man. I tell this to my guys a lot. Some get scared of this, and some are inspired. But we literally created and ran an agency without knowing how to create and run an agency. But I think the pros and cons are, the cons was that, of course, we made a lot of mistakes in the early days. But the pros, I would like to think, is that we questioned a lot of legacy ideas, legacy ideologies, or legacy industry best practices that we've heard, or that we've learned from people that we hire. But but honestly, personally, I always feel that by function of following industry best practices, by function of that, you become average. If everybody followed best practices, right? So we challenge it. We challenge it. So, I mean, like, there are some things that, some old guard things that some fundamentals that really don't change, but we just have a really irritating, sometimes some people call annoying, tendency to challenge and question things, lah. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Coming from like questioning stuff, that's always something youngsters do, right? And then your company is also like right now. Your company, not Racket Internet, the average age is also so young.
Yeah, it's about 27 years old.
Yeah, so
like 27 like this.
Correct.
Actually.
Yeah. So what does it take to actually like run a company full of young people?
Very good question. I think I have some semblance of the answer, but to say I have the answer, the right answer to that would be a lie. But what I realize is this: I think purpose is very important for people these days. I think it's because of the generation that we currently live in. We are 60 over years after post-Merdeka. We are the children of the generation that went through a war. Look, I think when it comes to security, that means very different from what for us. I'm not quite sure you can say me anymore, but for you guys, and from the generation before that, it's because security. Look, in our parents' time, or maybe our grandparents, right? The worst day they have is, sorry my language, but a Japanese soldier breaking into your house and raping your children. That's their worst day. What's your worst day, bro?
I don't know.
Your Grab food comes the next day?
Yeah, most probably.
Yeah, that's why I feel last time, like, people, they get a job, they keep it for 10 years because it's a security thing. But right now, I feel it is a luxury that we can work towards satisfying our purpose, or what we feel is our purpose as human beings. I feel that is important. That is very important to people these days. It's very important to myself, but I feel for us to think that way, I really feel we all should still keep in check that is a luxury that only this generation can enjoy. Yeah, and we're celebrating that, which is good. But yeah, so the toughest. So I feel like the toughest thing is always have a very clear North Star of what you're trying to do. Clear, but not necessarily physically achievable.
What's the North Star metric for your company?
For us, the North Star is very simple. We want to be the ultimate platform for multidisciplinary collaboration. We want to be the world's example that different minds are better than more minds, that diversity, when it comes to solving problems, diversity is the biggest, is the key, not just quantity.
Right.
So yeah, so for me, I'm all about how putting people from different disciplines. Like I like putting an architect, a chef, and a system, and probably like a like a system programmer together to build a website rather than hiring a bunch of UX and web designers. I feel that diversity of thought is a lot more important these days than just a lot more people in the room. So for us, our North Star is that to celebrate multidisciplinary collaboration, to be the ultimate platform for that. Is there a metric that can measure that? No. Do we know what we have to do to be there? Yes. But can it be measured? Do we know when we achieve it? Probably not.
It's very intangible.
Yeah. I feel that's quite important.
And then to lead your employees and to lead your partners to a certain goal, you will probably have to like motivate them in a certain way, right? And then in a way that you also like mentioned once, that you provide things in the office in a way how agricultural stuff works.
Oh, okay. So,
right?
so yeah,
that's
very
the
true.
Building an environment.
Look, there's an amazing TED talk by this English educator guy about I already forgot his name. I wish I remember his name, but he talked a lot about how right now in the modern day, the right format of education needs to be strategized in an agricultural context, not a industrial context. I felt in the 70s and 80s we were all born and bred. Educated within an industrial context. You need to be this mold to graduate. You need to be fit into a cookie cutter to be a lawyer, to be an engineer, to be to make it in life and whatever. But I feel right now, look, I can't generalize, but I feel with C27, the guys that work with us, the people we hire, the amazing people we hire, I feel that it's all about, it's very agricultural, which I really agree with that guy from the TED Talk. By agricultural, it means it's all about setting the right environment, okay? Because whether or not they can do the work, whether or not they are critical thinkers, I feel that we have quite a rigorous interview process to sort that out. But we know that the people that we have, if we set the right environment, we give with the tools that they need to define their imagination, to express their imagination,
they can be their fullest
this
potential.
company will grow. We just need to set the correct environment. We can't, force people into a cookie cutter anymore. I mean, even more so that we are generally predominantly a creative company.
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, you just need to set the environment. Like,
what are the examples of you setting the environment for the company, for these people?
Strategically, I would say on a high level, it's a blend between democracy and meritocracy. If you want to be super, philosophical with this, and not super literal, but I feel that I feel that the world has seen how the ugly side of democracy in the past 4 years. How the ugly side of freedom in the past 4 years. Pure meritocracy doesn't work. I feel that human beings, by the nature of being human beings, a pure meritocratic system doesn't work. So it's always a blend between meritocracy and democracy. I think that like the fact that they know that they have a voice, but they also know that at some extent they need to earn that voice.
Correct.
Yeah. So I feel that is the environment that sets the tone for the environment. But I'm not going to talk about the cafe, the pool, or whatever. But no. Literally, that was there when we moved in.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, C27 has a dope office. Like, that's 3 floors, pools, cafe. It's amazing.
Yeah, really happy with that space. I really have to admit.
Coming out from a very small space somewhere in Taman Tun.
It was a lot smaller. It was just a good time to move out. Oh, Jesus Christ! It was time to move out.
Sorry.
Good time to move out. But. Because of the market and everything, but yeah, it was a really cool space. But yeah, look, like it's a very comfortable space. A lot of really nooks and crannies to work in. But yeah, look, that's just the setting. What's really important to us is the philosophy of giving our people a voice. Yeah.
Right. This might be a little bit painful for you, but you're way too small to be my boss. So, for those of you who don't know, Fazil had a bad experience once. I don't know when, but like that statement was said to him once. That was probably one of the worst experience that you had. So, is there any worst experience that you had compared to that one? If not, share a bit what went through your mind.
Okay, look. I think like, look, I had a lot of stories walking into, a big presentation, for a national bank, with the CEO of the bank thinking I was the intern. Was very impressed with me, therefore, because he thought I was the intern. But I don't fit the go-to profile of a founder or a leader of any company. But look, I use that. I try to use that to my advantage. Because if you don't, I feel like when it comes to first impressions, I'm definitely not the best. But I like to see it as basically you have a lot more potential to impress. I mean, the bar is very low for you to start with, and therefore you can
it's all upside.
Yeah. It's all upside after that. So I like to do that. But yeah, I get a lot of that. I think the worst experience, like I'm just gonna be very blunt, it was in Singapore, where my boss who hired me to Singapore to basically lead the regional team over there, he was Swiss, so like wasn't from Asia or anything. I remember he hired me, he brought me in, he introduced me to the team, and I was supposed to take over that team as the regional lead lah. And I remember a week after, my boss brought me into a room and he told me that, hey, we've got a few HR complaints that the people are not happy having a 25-year-old boss. And not only that, what's worrying is that a 25-year-old Malaysian Malay boss.
In Singapore.
In Singapore.
And Fazil changed his shirt. For those of you who are listening on Spotify, Google Podcast, or Apple, you guys can't see, but like Fazil changed his shirt.
Yes, thank you, Zikai.
All right. So we'll continue off where we left. We were discussing about Fazil being a Malaysian, 25 years old, leading a pack of individuals in Singapore.
Yeah. Basically, a lot of racial profiling going on there, and I remember it was funny because my boss was Swiss at the time. He was like, dude, I didn't know Singaporeans and Malaysians hated each other. I didn't know that shit. Dude, anybody that reports something like that in Europe, they get fired, dude. I'm quite shocked that this is happening. But yeah, so that happened, and I remember it was a journey, I really had to. I think it was one of my first experiences having to win over a team that was a team that I didn't personally hire. I didn't personally train. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I was 25 years old, dude. It was an amazing experience. But yeah, we got into the groove after that, and we became one more efficient and top performing teams in the region. That was a Singaporean team, lah. But yeah, so yeah, it ended up great, lah, basically. But
how did that transition happen from everybody hating you to being one of the best teams out there?
It sounds really Singaporean, but it's all down to merit, lah. You really need to show what you're made of, lah.
Right.
I think the whole lead by example, the old saying or lead by example, shouldn't get it's still true. Mm-mm. And it wasn't easy. New environment, living in Singapore. I remember it was about a year and a half living in Singapore. New environment, new everything, new home and everything. It was tough, lah. But yeah, I felt the change of environment actually helped because I was out of my comfort zone, 100%. And I knew that I had to really prove myself out there, lah. This is like MSSM already, lah. No more MSSD. It's international level, no more state level already. So state or district level. So yeah, lah.
Now, since you were saying gotta show what you're made of, I'm gonna ask you a few questions where you will show what you're made of. Okay. All right, let's talk about since you're running a creative digital enablement firm, you're doing a lot of branding, design, and stuff like that. And a lot of more innovation and tech stuff, right? So, talking about brand innovations, right? With so many startups going on, like fintech, and then SpaceX coming up with like space exploration and stuff like that. And then, what do you think the future will look like with all of these innovations coming around?
we are the generation that will see the most innovations and change in our daily life than any other generation in history. If you look at the past 10 years, you would have seen more leaps and changes in our day-to-day lifestyle than the past 100 years. Yeah, I mean, like from the 20th century, we had petrol, color TV, but in the last 10 years, I feel like, you know, half the population went on the internet. China went from 10 to 90 over percent internet penetration in 10 years. We have large economies getting online, and we have entire economies living online. We have its own currency right now. Look, we will see a lot of changes in our lifestyle. But for example, I think the most interesting thing, I mean, everybody's talking about AI. I feel like AI is still a 5 years, 6 to 7 years away kind of thing. But nobody's talking about 5G. Yeah, I feel that 5G is a 1 year and a 1 or 2 year. Is 1 or 2 years away. Imagine an entire generation of kids growing up who doesn't even know what downloading means. The internet connection will be so fast that
you click and it's done.
Yeah, your entire family can be working. Just have to buy one PC that sits at home, and you guys stream from your mobile devices into the PC because 5G is that fast. You don't have to have processors in your phones anymore. Therefore, there's going to be a huge decrease in terms of the value of smartphone. I don't think a lot of complex hardware will be inside the mobile smartphones anymore. They will all be in-house into a centralized computer which you can connect through your phone via 5G. Means you're decentralizing the main terminal, and I feel that is going to change everything. I heard you can do very complex surgeries remotely. Like I said, there will be no buffering anymore. You won't see that word on your screen anymore. And this is a year away. It's 1 or 2 years away. If you think the world is connected right now, in 2 to 3 years, it'll be a very different thing.
Just like I don't know, Elon Musk is starting this Neuralink where you can put like a chip inside your fucking brain. Yeah. And like that you can fucking stream music straight away. Yes. Is that part of the new tech? Or is that just...
Okay, look. For me, that's very ahead. Okay. I feel like when it comes to this really leapfrog technology like AI, self-driving cars, even Neuralink, I think these are amazing advancements in technologies, almost science fiction-like. But look, there is a huge ethical argument with these things, and I feel that will actually, I really feel that will actually affect the adoption rate of these technologies, and therefore, technologies existing doesn't mean we are moving as a civilization. It's technology that is adopted. We had electric cars for 30, 40 years. We had the internet has been around for longer than we know. That's why it's the adoption of technology that is the key, not just the existence of the technology. In adoption of technology, I think the issue of ethics is going to be a very, very big issue in the next few years. We've seen that what happened to Facebook and everything in the past few years. And
even recently, they had the call with the governor or some shit.
Oh yeah, so that I didn't see the whole thing, but it was crazy. I think all the big tech guys were basically called into Congress.
Correct.
Right? Yeah, none of them can answer very simple questions, which is very, very scary.
Correct.
Insane.
Let's talk about human behaviors.
Yes.
Right. So from your time, because we were talking about adoption and whatnot, from your time working with Zalora and now say 27, right? What are the key takeaways that you think how human behavior reacts to new brands, changes, and innovations?
Sorry, how does who react?
How does human in general, their behavior reacts to new changes, brands, and innovations, perspectives, and whatnot?
I think I really feel new content is always a driver. I've seen, I think, at least on a business point of view, I've seen how, we really had a strategy, like with e-commerce, we all had a strategy for optimizing new arrivals because we all, staggering optimizing their new arrivals to make sure that we had a steady flow of steady increase of sales and everything. But I still feel that new content is always a driver. I mean, that's a very broad question, to ask like how brands how people behave towards new brands, new brands and technologies and everything. But I don't think I can answer the question. But I would say that in every company that has gone through amazing growth, right? There's what I found out with my own personal experience looking into these companies is that it's all the game they play. It's how you acquire and retain your first adopters. A lot of the biggest companies in the world started with that, because if you build loyalty to this very
early adopters,
this very enthusiastic and very adventurous and very vocal, community of people which are early adopters, they will basically help you grow your company. Yeah, so that's basically a very common strategy between what I've seen in most of the unicorns around, especially in this region.
I think Seth Godin also said this once, like he keeps on focusing on like a very small group of early adopters, that these are the people who will like promote your business for you.
Advocate. The best thing is advocate, and I feel that there is a very specific set of psychology when it comes to an early adopter, very vocal, and usually they know their shit. And therefore they're credible.
Correct.
So yeah, it's that game. I feel like people try to get a huge market too fast, whether organically or non-organically. They try to scale a little bit too fast. That they do that to the point where they use tactics that would devalue their product.
Right.
Yeah, I see a lot of people doing. I see a lot of new brands doing that. They will discount their product to get those early adopters, but they will forget that if you discount your product, you don't just get early adopters, you get value hunters as well. And that's a completely different animal to deal with. And the end result is your product gets devalued.
Correct.
This is the whole, I would say, the whole Groupon scenario. 10% of your price for the first 3 months. No one's going to pay full price after that. You get 3x customers in the first 3 months because it's 90% discount, but you will remain 90% discount. That's the value. That's the intrinsic value of your product after that.
Do you think people shouldn't give discounts, or not until you're big enough to provide?
That's a whole podcast entirely. But to summarize, pandai-pandai lah. Pandai. There's a strategy. You need a strategy, and that's why most products start off with high margins. To make room for this.
Right. Yeah. Understood. All right. Earlier we spoke about how the future will be very content driven, right? Like new content will always provide some sort of like new doors for people to like know about your brand, right? And then as an entrepreneur yourself, right? You know how nowadays there's a lot of like content where it's just like this one we cursed a bit, and then you see people like Gary V with all this intimidating nature of content, like Dan Lok, Jason Capital and stuff like that. And all of these people, they are very targeted to millennials, young people like me, alright? So why do you think that this approach is very much more digestible for these young millennials compared to older people, even though the message is pretty much the same?
They do not fall into that mold that when you picture an entrepreneur in your head. I think we're still the generation of that old guard entrepreneur, still the Steve Jobs and the Bill Gates, right? Gary Vaynerchuk, like very quite well educated. They're dropouts, but they drop out from Harvard and Stanford. Doesn't count, okay? So still very polished and everything. Very very polished, and a little bit of a cliche in terms of who they are. Okay, Steve Jobs, bar Steve Jobs, I would say Bill Gates and the Warren Buffetts and everything. And I feel Gary Vaynerchuk, number one, Gary Vaynerchuk, to be specific, I feel his appeal is that he really goes out to break the mold. To break the mold that he is, a person that talks like that he's by no means a Tom Cruise or whatever, but and I think he's just super charismatic, and I feel that he doesn't. I really respect people who try to redefine the mold of an entrepreneur. or a successful person. Like I feel that, like I said, I'm all for diversity. I feel like success can mean a very different thing to anyone, and I feel that, he's one of the people that has defined a new brand for entrepreneurship that is approachable, that's surprisingly approachable, despite the tone.
How do you measure success?
For me, it's very simple. It's the amount of lives we impact. If you've seen one of our ads, if you've seen one of our ads, or if you use one of our apps, if and even if you experience any of our products, we like to see it impacting people's lives. And I feel in the digital space is where you can impact a lot of people. We did a count the other day in terms, I think in 10 years we've achieved about 4 to 5 billion impressions for just a certain industry. And we feel that, hey, like there's a piece of us that 5 billion that's been seen 5 billion times around the world. And and I think like we did, Netflix is one of our biggest clients. We actually created a brand, a very localized brand for Netflix that Malaysians can relate with, and I felt through that brand we have paid tribute to a lot of pop culture heroes in Malaysia, which a lot of people enjoyed and a lot of people appreciated it. We got a lot of DMs in terms of people thanking us about all the things we did. Like we brought back Jalin Hassan, Adiba Noor and everything. People loved it, and we imagine Jalin Hassan in a Stranger Things backdrop. Was insane. So I felt that a lot of people were touched, and for me that's the ultimate thing to impact daily life. I feel that to derive satisfaction from that it's a privilege that I am very very fortunate to have. However, I do also feel that to be a bit more specific is that in the short and mid term is because we've done this before with some of the startups we've helped, such as Money Match. Like we know for a fact with our experiences in Money Match, and we actually have a few more things in the pipeline to impact other industries other than finance, is that with Money Match what we did was interesting is that we have created a product that the value is so immense that it has inspired the amendment of regulation. So literally we helped with something and laws changed. We helped create something and laws changed. I feel that like if you want to talk about governments, the way you impact a lot of people is with policy. And I felt that we were a digital agency doing work for Netflix, and one day impacting financial regulation by Bank Negara. It was something that was very satisfying for us, and we felt that if you want to impact people, it's not just the products we help our clients market. It's creating services that digital services that inspire actual policy or legislation to be amended. That was one of the most proud moments for C27.
Congratulations for that, because I think to get a meeting with Bank Negara to create new policies for a certain new market, a new business model it's a huge achievement.
I really want to go on record and saying this. So like I don't know, I always think about this, like we live in a generation, right, where the laws that govern us, right, when they were written by people, and they were written during a time where they didn't expect something like the internet to pop out of nowhere. So you see remnants of this in other industries. Airbnb versus hotels, Grab versus SPAD. You see a lot of conflicts and everything happening. Why is because they all got trouble into the law, and why that is because regulation did not take into account of innovation. The fact that we will have wireless internet one day, we can do things with our smartphones, and we have the wealth of human knowledge in our pockets. One day, we never thought of that. We've seen that, with the financial industry allowing digital investments for products like Stashaway and everything. We've seen, of course, Money Match. We've seen changes happen, and iMoney, Ringgit Plus, they all come into play. Airbnb can come into play. We are going to see laws being updated, fundamental laws being updated because of the existence of the internet. The fact that we can go to 10 websites and log in with Facebook, but we with the same ID, but when we go to 10 different government branches, we bring very different documents, although they have our IC.
Correct.
The fact there's no central digital identity is insane. But I do feel that is only because our laws do not allow it. And like I said, I think earlier I said no one has 15, 20 years experience in this because the people that are in charge of writing our laws are not familiar with this new life that we are getting into. That is a very simple fact. Yeah. This is very new. This is literally an industrial revolution that the powers that be do not completely understand yet, even right now.
Do you think there's a lot of reasons why youngsters would not want to work with the government to restructure all of this policy making besides Syed Sadila? Because like a lot of youngsters
going there, bro. Okay, let's go. Look.
We can go everywhere we want.
Okay, look.
Because we spoke with Alman from Good Vibes Festival, and then the people that approve artists that coming in and whatnot are also
it's music's under the tourism industry, right? Yeah, that is insane. Okay, I can't say I'm an expert in that field. I know of a lot of people that deserve to have a platform to talk about that particular sector, but I don't think I am have the credibility to comment on that lah. But I think the new generation graduates, when they want to do something innovative and interesting, or do something that they would think that they would change the world, government is not the number one thing that comes into their minds. I wish it was. Don't get me wrong. I wish it was, because look, to be able to inflict real change, you need to work with governments. That's the only way. Money Match couldn't have existed without the help of the government, without speaking to the government and getting them to understand the value of this and how everything works and how many lives it can change. I just feel that when it comes to government, because of its conservative nature, because of its conservative nature, and the fact that it's generally known to be not very fast paced, and that is not synonymous with what you would want from a digital environment.
Correct. Yep. 100%. Yep. All right. We won't go so deep, but I think that kind of like just touches it very nicely. That I think a lot of people will understand where youngsters are coming from. Let's talk about you coming from C27, right? Okay. We've spoke about a lot already, but I want to talk about this with you in the sense of like your dreams and goals that you aspire C27 to have. So why don't you share with us the top 3 names or brands that you would want to have in your clientele?
Oh, think about this quite often.
Look at that.
Nike football, number 1, bar none.
Not Nike in general, Nike football.
Nike football. I grew
soccer
up,
or football?
Football. Soccer. Football. There's no fucking soccer.
Listen to that, Americans.
Bola sepak.
Alright.
I think I grew up on Nike football. Joga Bonito campaign, the Scorpion campaign.
100%.
Eric Cantona. Ronaldo, Fat Ronaldo. I had all their posters. I remember I had all their posters in my room. It changed my life. I remember seeing this ad, Nike ad, directed by Guy Ritchie, and just changed my life. I feel that it's very simple. It's because, look, I feel that the holy grail for any brand is to make their customers like a sports fan.
Right.
That's the holy grail. Like, I'm a Manchester United fan.
Oh, same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We're not doing very well, but like Champions League.
Getting there. The Champions League, we're going to Champions League at least. Getting there, but I'm a Manchester United fan. So for me, when Manchester United loses, I get sad. Dude, I don't know anyone in Manchester. I've been there once, but when they lose, I get sad. When they win, I get happy. I know their entire history. I know everything about Alex Ferguson. I read all his books. I watch The compilations of Tevez, Rooney, Ronaldo almost every weekend. I don't know any of them, but when they lose, I get sad. Why?
That connection.
I cannot explain that. I feel it's very primal. It has to do a lot with tribalism, and I feel the holy grail of what every brand wants to achieve is that connection, that sense of tribalism with a sports team. I don't know why that happens in my head, but I just feel I just feel like not a lot of people draw those analogies closely enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The other two brands. The other two brands.
Nike Football. Did it change? Second would be Apple Computers, of course. Cliche, but Apple Computers. I have to say that it's just a testament to the team that's currently sitting Dharma Sabadana. Netflix was there for years and then we actually got it. So yeah. Okay, number 3 actually is a new one. Ben and Jerry's.
Oh,
yeah.
Why? Because Apple, I don't think we have to ask why. I'm pretty sure a lot of the brands want, but like Ben and Jerry's.
I think Apple invented if anything, the first 2 brands I mentioned, I feel they invented advertising, or what we know about advertising, why everybody studies advertising, why everybody does advertising right now, why everybody thinks they're going to do in this industry, but probably not, is because of what they know what Apple and Nike has done.
Correct.
But number 3 is Ben and Jerry's. Why? Is because I feel that they take the art of personification to a new level, to make their brand, to give their brand personality, not just personality, but a voice. A voice is in a point of view. It is the most politically vocal brand that I've seen, when usually most brands stay away from that. They do a lot of crazy things when marijuana is legalized in certain states. They do amazing campaigns for that. And I just feel, and they weren't like, they just didn't post a black screen during Black Lives Matter. They could say, fuck white supremacy. That's literally their headline in their social media. Ada telur lah, bro.
Very brutal.
Yeah, very brutal. Yeah, got balls lah. That's what I love about
them.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Name me 3 people. Okay, doesn't have to be an entrepreneur, but local aspiring entrepreneurs should look up to. Doesn't matter who.
Some I forgot their names though, but I follow their work. That I really look up to. Damn hard question, man. So many.
Fazil Fuad.
The dude from number 1, I would say, look, I actually think I forgot to reply. It's like he just texted me a few days ago. So sorry about that, but the dude from America. I mean, all the guys from America. America Makerspace, BGBG. I've been seeing a lot of their work over the years everywhere. I read up a lot about them, attended some of their events. I think what they're doing, I'm not quite sure if Malaysia is ready, but it's what
it's a great initiative.
I feel it's what Malaysia needs, more companies like that. Number 2, I would say, I know them personally, maybe a bit biased, but I've always admired Nade and Chi Hao from Delori.
Okay.
Yeah, Delori.com of Maya, I feel like, dude, just very smart people. Really respect them, very cerebral. The way, although it's logistics business, a lot of people say, it's how straightforward it can be. No, the way they are basically independent, technology-enabled players in a very saturated market, and they are doing pretty well. So I have a lot of respect for those guys. Look, I have a lot of food people, but I don't think that's okay lah. Fine. I think my third one, I just met him recently. I had the honor to meet him recently, who I really admire. Darren from Dewakan.
Who?
Darren Teo from Dewakan. Basically which is the problem I'm trying to solve from him. Nobody knows him. Dewakan is basically Asia's best 50 restaurants. One of the first Malaysian restaurants got into Asia's best 50.
Oh, is it?
This is world's best 50. This is Asia's best 50, and it was Dewakan, and he only cooks and uses Malaysian ingredients that are locally sourced. He's elevating, buah kulim. He's elevating a lot of other ingredients that you've never heard of that has been feeding our ancestors for generations. And I had an honor to sit down and interview him for a case study that we're building, trying to build with him. And I really respect what he's doing, he is not doing the whole foie gras wagyu steak shit. He is literally saying, hey, this is our Malaysian biodiversity. This is our Malaysian biodiversity that has fed our ancestors for generations. We will not exist if not for this biodiversity, and our biodiversity is one of the best in the world. Dewa Khan can only happen here in Malaysia. Dewa Khan cannot happen anywhere else in the world. And look, I've never seen. I mean, look, we are people who get angry that Netflix never put Malaysia in their street food thing, or that Singapore claims, their nasi lemak, or whether Klang Bak Kut Teh is better than Singaporean Bak Kut Teh. He gave me a very good example. He said, okay, bro, everybody likes Klang Bak Kut Teh, right? He wrote me a list of all the ingredients of Bak Kut Teh. I said, bro, just want to look at this. You know what's from Malaysia? This is 11 ingredients here. You know how many is from Malaysia? 2. Pork and water. How is this a Malaysian dish? Yeah, if you really read up about, if you think nasi lemak is Malaysian, if you read up about it, you'll be very disappointed. So look.
That's a hot take.
Yeah, so look, my point is this. I cannot name 4 other ingredients that he named. I feel that if we can't do that, we don't get to be angry with Netflix. We don't get to be angry with anyone, not including our food on an international stage. The secondary thing is, why do we need someone from Hollywood validating our food is another fucking story. But I just feel that there's a lot about our own land that we don't know about. And this is something that I learned from Darren. It's like, you live in, you go to Monkera, Bangsa on the weekend, you have, you eat in cafes and everything. You don't understand. I mean, like, you don't even know where that food comes from. You don't know where that food comes from. You don't know, even when you eat your local food, you don't know anything about the food. But we know Sichuan food. We know Italian food. Okay, everybody can know what fucking penne is. What fucking
spaghetti pizza,
lasagna is. What beef ragu is. Semua tahu. Right. Name me 5 dishes from Perak.
Okay. I can't name it also.
I can't, which is crazy, right? Just crazy. Like, yeah. What is a Selangor dish?
Oh shit, I don't know.
How long we live here already, bro?
Man.
Yeah, exactly. So look, if you want to be angry with the Netflix and everything, hey, bro, your own shit you tell that, right? So I just feel that I really like what he said. He says, no, Malaysia doesn't have a food culture. Malaysia doesn't love food. They fucking love eating. Suka makan je.
That's why we are quite fat.
Yeah, suka makan je.
A lot of diabetes people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Can you name one real qualified food critic in this market? There's none. There's none. Apparently we're a nation that loves food. Yeah. Very hot take. I hope I don't get into trouble for that.
It's fine. It's a good hot take.
Yeah.
Puts us on the map at least. Okay, alright. Before we end this podcast, right, I wanna ask you about one last thing. Steve Jobs has been notorious to be very, very, very deliberate with his words and very honest and brutal with his employees, right? I know he's not here anymore, but I don't think a lot of people would love working with him. But however, the team that was working with him kind of revolutionized the tech industry in a way, right? Does that mean that being very harsh and rude would help in humans' ability to perform at their best?
Okay, very good question. I think about that quite often. Very surprised that you actually asked. Look, running a business is a challenge. And running a business wanting to change the world is a bigger challenge. We don't know what it takes to change the world, to be honest.
Correct.
Okay. So not a lot of people will have the answer to the question, but I do feel this. You don't get to anywhere alone. Okay. We read a lot about Steve Jobs and how he was like that, but we don't read the other. But we don't read a lot of other things as well. I feel that there's a lot that goes in the whole legend of Steve Jobs. I think there's a lot more layers that goes into it. But I do feel this. I do feel this. 2 things. Okay. The first thing is you don't get anywhere alone. That is a fact. No one gets anywhere alone. With the amount of technology you have, whatever, you cannot do anything alone. I think empathy is something all leaders need to be able to relate to everyone. very, very similar to a politician if you think about it, because the relatability is very important.
Correct.
I try to make sure that I have minimum contact hours with the most junior person in my team on a weekly or bi-weekly basis to make sure that, because I know that if I don't do that, I will lose what's my understanding of what's happening on the ground. And look, and to be able to do that, for people to be honest with you, can't be an asshole. However,
but it did work for him though.
No,
I don't know.
No, like I said, but in the end of the day, you get disappointed at times, of course, when things don't turn out properly. You get disappointed at times, and sometimes, there's a lot of characters around, and sometimes people disappoint you a lot, and you try not to take it personally. I just want to say, it's very hard not. If you run your own business, it's very hard not to take it personally. I don't believe in the thing that, hey Zil, you shouldn't get angry because it's business. You should separate your personal and business. No,
but it's your baby.
This is. I founded this company.
It's your baby.
If that's true, how can I not make it personal? I feel like it's because it's personal. That's why we have the tenacity that drives our tenacity to achieve more. The fact that we're younger, the fact that people call us shorter or not good enough or younger. If I remember the Netflix pitch, someone had to warn the boss there that, hey, just to warn you, these guys look very young. They're going to pitch in 5 minutes. I remember someone saying that, and we ended up winning. And we ended up winning. So look, just want to be, I feel I don't want to sound cliche, but it needs to be a balance. You need to empathize with people, and you need to be able to understand the struggles that people are going through, or not, or not. You are not going anywhere. Number 2, okay, I think what Steve Jobs has. I feel only very few people in a singular generation has. Okay, number 1 is like you need to empathize no matter what. But I do feel the anomaly with Steve Jobs is not only he had a vision, but he had this thing I like to call gravitas. It's a Latin word for being able. When you speak, bro, people will listen to you. Not only that, people will write books about what you've spoken about. I feel Jesus Christ, Nabi Muhammad, Hitler, President Obama, Steve Jobs, they all have one thing in common: gravitas. Yeah, when they say things, people, oh my God, that's amazing, right. Shit, I'm gonna do it. I remember that the founder, if you read the founder of Pixar, he wrote a book. If you read it, he talks about Steve Jobs' reality distortion field, which is basically whenever they talk about investment money with him, they have I think a hand signal to sign language to wake the other person up, because when Steve Jobs starts talking, they'll all be like, oh my God, yes, we want to do that. Please give us less money. Then they actually have sign languages to snap each other out of it, because when he talks, they forget everything. That's how powerful he was. So he was a bit of an anomaly. I do not think we can easily replicate that, because I feel people that are born with that are once in a generation. So, yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Before we end, do you have anything you want to say or you want to plug?
Oh,
go ahead.
Stay safe and sanitize, I guess. Yeah, right. Yeah, nothing super serious. Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah. Thank you for your time. Thank you
so much for having me here. This was an amazing experience.
It was amazing.
Really glad that we could do this. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you also for you guys who are here to listening to this podcast, and thank you for joining us for the 4th episode of the Inspo podcast. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.